5000 website. And ladies and gentlemen, I have another blockbuster for you today. We're going to be talking some economics, some cycle charts with Mr. Bo POLNY. And he is another one who is out there, like we are, stating that this financial collapse is imminent. So the title of this particular program will be Financial Apocalypse Cometh, and that's taken from the Apocalypse 6:5. Now, Bo POLNY, market cycles analyst, is an experienced cycles analyst and specialist in the gold, silver, and world stock markets. He has successfully timed the 2011 $1,900 gold and $49 silver cycle tops, China's 2015 stock market top, and the United States Dow and S&P 500 2016 stock market tops. And now Bo will explain the significance behind all of this. He's also currently forecasted a powerful 2016 17 gold silver price explosion and a terrible world stock market collapse that is expected to begin this month, folks. Now, the latest numbers before I hand it over to Bo. The Dow Jones is at 18,060. S&P right now is 2126. NASDAQ is 5173. And for those who don't know the actual scripture, Apocalypse 6:5, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the living creature saying, "Come and see, and behold, a black horse, and he that sat upon him had a pair of scales in his hands. And I heard, as it were, a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, 2 pounds of wheat for a penny, and thrice 2 pounds of barley for a penny." And that is exactly what many of us are seeing what's going to happen here in the not too distant future, perhaps by month's end, as Bo's going to talk about. So explain to us in layman's terms, Bo, what could actually trigger this this staggering event. You mentioned recently, I think, in an article entitled "The Four Horsemen Ready to Ride," a worldwide financial derivative crisis. But talk to us in layman's terms here. What's going on here in the economic world?
Thanks, Eric. Thanks for having me on. Nice to speak with you. And yeah, I think this is an incredibly important time for your listeners and for the world to be paying attention, as most of the world believes everything's fine, but it's not. And our analysis indicates that calamities and incredible changes are about to be set upon our world, and it all begins this month of September. So yes, I drafted an article and I titled it "The Four Horsemen," because I believe that all things said within the Bible mathematically calculate to begin extremely soon, here and now.
Do you find in your world, Bo? I mean, what do you say to the naysayers who are looking at your analysis and saying, he's taking, biblical algorithms, if you will, as opposed to, how other people would approach this coming economic collapse? Are you finding more people are softening their response to you, or how do you respond to these naysayers?
Oh, I love naysayers because naysayers. It's very clear in the Bible what it says. It says, "And the wicked shall not understand, and the wise will understand." And so the people that are listening to me, the ones that understand, they get it.
Yeah.
And everybody else that that says, "Oh, you can't mathematically calculate, you can't do this, you can't do that, it's impossible, everything's fine," on and on and on. Listen to Squawk Box, listen to the news, everything's fine. They are in the world of the wicked, and they don't believe any of this is possible. And then it says in the Bible, prepare. Well, if you've been on the other side of the fence, you have not prepared. And then when all of it does happen, you wish you would have prepared, but it'll be too late. Because I think when the calamities unfold, they're going to unfold very quickly, and you won't have time to react. So you'll either be positioned, and made preparations, or you haven't. So whatever the naysayers have to say, it's irrelevant to anything that I do. It doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. I do, and I know what I do is extremely accurate, valid, whatever words you want to say. But to be able to forecast specific cycle highs on like in gold and silver, due to nearly the day. The question is, what other analysts have done that? And then in December of last year, we schedule 2 weeks in advance of December, an interview scheduled intentionally on the 3rd of December because we knew that would be the mathematical low for gold and for gold, and it was the exact low to the exact day, and the price was $1,045. Today gold trades over 1,300. So it's really irrelevant what people have to say because the bottom line is the naysayers will end up being wrong.
Yeah, keep plugging away. Now, why do you think the mainstream is painting a completely different picture than what you and I are seeing? This kind of Ponzi scheme, this propping up. I kind of call it, you use different terminology, we'll get into it, but I just kind of liken it to the rug being pulled out from underneath our feet very quickly, and we're just going to collapse, and the taller you are, the harder the fall. But why do you think that it's painted that way in the mainstream?
Well, mainstream, it's all about the word. There's two words: faith and confidence, right? And so the world believes in paper assets, such as the price of your home, such as the price of the dollar, such as the price of a car, such as the price of your portfolio. Everyone believes in that price to be real because of those two words, faith and confidence. Okay, so what I foresee is the four horsemen, analogy is when faith and confidence breaks. That's when the four horsemen ride. Okay, so you break faith and confidence, and everything you perceive to be true becomes opposite. So the paper has, your stock value that you thought had incredible value suddenly drops significantly. So when something like that happens, you start losing that. The faith and confidence very quickly diminishes and goes away. And so people start looking to something of tangible value, and that's specifically gold and silver. So so when this whole thing triggers, it's going to be quick and it'll be sudden. So and you can use any words you want for that, but the bottom line is um, they can print money, and they've done it for for thousands, for thousands. But Rome did it. They devalued their currency. They took their gold and silver and they started taking their currency, and they put different metals into their gold and into their silver coins to devalue the value of it. So what here in the world we do, we take money, paper money, and we basically electronically increase the quantity of the money supply. But all that ultimately ends up doing is it takes you can push, it's pushing the goalposts down the road, but eventually you can keep printing the money and it has no more effect. And so eventually the bubble bursts. And that's kind of what I see, what the charts are telling us. Very soon the bubble's about to burst. And when the bubble bursts, what happens is those paper assets that all had faith and confidence, and the cycle that we're specifically long-term cycles, a 252-year cycle, going back to the Currency Act when they created currency of 1764. That cycle is supposed to, it completes 8 cycles of 252 years, calculates to exactly this year, 2016. And so I see all the calamities are, we've done multiple interviews and we've kept saying 2016, 2016, and now that no, we did I did a true calculation for the Shemitah date, and for the Jubilee calculation, and it's coming into the beginning part of October here. So we are so out of time, it's incredible. And they can keep painting the picture that everything's fine until it's not. But when it's not, you'll be stuck in your positions, so you won't be able to buy gold or silver possibly because within a few days it could dry up. You won't be able to get, you won't be get out of maybe your portfolio because they've locked the system, the market's up temporarily and you can't get out. So I think it can be very dramatic, and so the people that are awake, will be, won't be panicking, but everybody else will.
Once again, I have with me Bo Polney. Get to his website, gold2020forecast.com. You can also find him on YouTube under the same name, Gold 2020 Forecast. We can get a little bit more specific with these cycle charts. I encourage you all to visit his website, and you'll find this video called Chaos 2016, where he represents in August. We're hitting all-time market highs across the board. It's not just the United States, but it's worldwide, setting us up for this falling off the side of the cliff. I know you call it the megaphone top chart pattern or the jaws of death. I mean, it's there right in front of us. Do you still hold to that position? I mean, we're looking at the end of September here. I know Ron Paul, I think, came out and said the 27th was a date that he was looking at. Seems pretty imminent to me.
Well, let's do some math. Okay, so we're going to start with the Six-Day War in Israel. I think it was June 5th, 1967. We're going to add biblical years are 360 years. Okay, they're not 365 or 364.25 years, or that the typical calendar is. They're 360 days in a year. So that's a biblical year is 360 days. So we run that calculation from the Six-Day War, and what you end up finding is of 50 cycles of that, and adds up to like 18,000 days, which is tomorrow, the 15th of September, 2016. So do not expect a market crash tomorrow. My point is we're out of time, okay? And then the day after tomorrow, you have I remember last year the whole world was so fixated on the blood moons. I don't know if you remember all that stuff going on, Eric.
Sure.
So you had 4 blood moons last year, and then you had 1 eclipse. Well, check this out. This year you have 4 eclipses and 1 blood moon, and that equates to a total of 5 blood moons, 5 eclipses. Well, on 2 days from now, the 16th of September, is you have your 4th. One, two, three, four. You'll be your 4th, your 5th. Yeah, so it'll be your 5th eclipse. So that'll complete a pattern of 10, and that is going to be on the 16th of September. So pretty incredible time calculations going back to the Israel war 50 years ago. So we are here, and then I've got an incredible time point that I basically talked about that starts the beginning of October, and I think so between now and then I think we're going to see one heck of a market event.
Now, when this collapse happens, this is a question I always ask, Bo. What are we specifically looking at? Is it going to happen when we say fast? Are we talking a week? Are we talking days? Are we talking one day? And then furthermore, what about savings accounts? What about retirement accounts? What about the ATMs? I mean, we're going to be able to pull money out of the ATMs? I mean, what's the world look like post-collapse to you?
Well, okay, here's the thing. Number one is when markets and everything are not going to collapse in one day. Okay, what I mean, it's going to be significant. Well, we should see a significant move to the downside. But I think will be several legs to the downside. So this thing, the massive crash, on the megaphone chart pattern that that you've mentioned in that video titled Chaos 2016, that's going to take some time, because at the bottom target on that is a Dow of around 5,000 or 5,500 range. So that'll take some time to occur. So hopefully your listeners aren't expecting to see that massive of a collapse, here and now. But but always when a market crashes, the first collapse of multiple crashes is always like the most chaotic, the most wow factor. And so I believe that's the first one that's going to happen. We're going to get a significant move, and that's going to really just break that idea of what we talked about, faith and confidence in the system, or the people had, and so once that system begins to crack, the faith and confidence begins to be questionable, then you'll have these big moves. But no, this is not going to be like you're going to see it drop to to something silly like 5,000 this September. Absolutely not. But it will be enough to really shock the world. Now you ask, well, what's it going to look like? See, that's the problem. People ask questions like that, and so from a market analysis, when I look at charts, right? And so
Sure.
I can't. You're asking events versus charts, right? So I can do calculations. I can tell you, when markets would top or crash. So it's like we did a calculation on that chaos video, and it said the markets are supposed to top on the 15th of August. Well, the Dow and the S&P to the exact day topped to the exact number. No, we didn't give a number. We give the exact day that they would top, and they did to the exact mathematical time point mentioned within that video. So, and since then the markets, the Dow's dropped, a few hundred points already. So, but the events that it's going to look like, that's going to be questionable. But but then you can look at maybe what happened to other countries. You can look back to what it was like in the Great Depression. What was it like then? So so I see there's going to be a lot of bank issues probably. People are going to have difficulties getting their money. So yeah, a lot of financial events will occur, but to answer you specifically, what it will look like, please, like, that is a difficult question, and
Sure.
I'm sure there's other analysts that could give you a better objective on that.
Now, what about interest rates, Bo? We brought on other analysts, and they're all basically saying the same thing. It's not moving. It's not going anywhere. But what do you say? What do you see in that area?
Well, whether the interest rates go up or down, it doesn't matter. Gold and silver are going up. Okay, so I don't specifically look at interest rates. All I know is that the precious metals are going up, and they're going to go up hard and fast when this starts to happen. I think interest rates, I can't. They're not going to stay down here. Whether they want to keep them down here or not, I think fundamentally they're at some point going to be going up. But bottom line is that the direction for the precious metals is more important than what the interest rates do, because regardless of whatever the rates do, if you don't have gold and silver, you're basically you're going to be stuck out in the cold.
Now,
So
is the
good.
forecast still holding for this vertical breakout with gold still being over 2,000 for 2017?
Well, by 2017, I think we're going to have huge numbers on gold and silver. We had, we were, there was two possibilities. One, we could have had a price jump into June, July. I was talking at a couple of interviews that we had early part of the year. We had a cycle high expected in the first part of July. And we actually got that to almost, we were looking for the 7th of July. I think that the high came in on the 6th. So we were off within one trading day for the July high. Now that July high could have been a price jump to maybe like 25 or $26 on silver, but it didn't. They held the price down, and then it pulled down. And we were expecting a cycle low into the end of August. So we did an interview a week and a half ago, and then we based on the day of the low. We said the low is here for gold, and that was right around 1304 on gold, and we think we nailed the day on that one as well too. So basically, we're looking at a next leg up here on gold, and the question is how high the next leg is going to be. Cycles give me the direction. And price points are a little more difficult, but I still see the moment $26 breaks on silver, the moment $1,500 in change breaks on gold, then we're immediately going to go to new all-time highs very powerfully, very quickly. So we're not far away, and so I still think I know this year is going to have a very powerful finish, or a very powerful year yet this year on gold, and it's going to continue into next year. So so between today, the 14th of September into 2017, absolutely new all-time highs in gold and silver, probably incredibly big numbers on both of those.
Now, speaking about the Bible here, Bo, maybe we get your comments on this. We see this kind of emerging cashless society, death of the dollar, if you will. Many people are concerned about the whole mark of the beast. Given this scenario, given the apocalypse, which we're obviously referencing today, how far away are we from some type of scenario of, pledging allegiance to this new Luciferian NWO, where you're going to have to take this microchip and be linked to some sort of super computer in this New World Order socialist structure? I mean, how far away is that?
Okay, I'd be careful answering. I don't want to do too much on that one. I did the math, I did the calculations on that, and that's a great question. Don't want to say too much about that, but if you reference the what they talked about, what was that magazine from 1970s? The magazine.
Economist?
Yeah, Economist. Okay, so they
Yeah.
basically reference the year 2018. Now that's
Yeah.
pretty close. Okay, so people that are looking for those kind of events now, no, they're not. They're off. Their time points are completely inaccurate. And the Economist magazine is much more closer to that time window.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's actually exactly what V the Gorilla Economist said. Now, outside of gold and silver, obviously, you're in precious metals, but what else, fundamentally speaking, can people do to prepare? Are you also advocating, getting off the grid, maybe buying some land, laying in some provisions? Given this post-collapse world where, I think we all can agree it's going to be pretty bad. None of us know exactly how bad, but what else can people do, practically speaking?
Well, none of this. This is the best part about everything. We talk about gold, we talk about monies, we talk about finance, but really, if you don't know who God is, that's I don't know how important that is to understand, because it takes the stress out of your life when you know who the creator is, that there is a creator, that all the calculations I've done are, people say, hey, the Bible, it's written by man, so it can be tweaked and modified, and I can't disagree with all that. That's why there's so many versions of it. But I'll tell you one thing that never changes in all the versions of the Bible is the math calculations.
Yeah.
Every single version you look at, it's the same math calculations, especially when you get to Revelations. The math is identical everywhere. And so I use the math calculations. The math calculations have proven to me incredible math formulas of what can, of what time points that occur within our world. And so that in and of itself is so important to understand that it doesn't matter what anybody says and the naysayers, the creator, this is all creation, okay? Number one. Then how to prepare for it is basically, knowing that there's a creator, there's a God. Number two is knowing the right God is, and then just basically preparing. Financially be prepared. Don't know, holding paper is paper. Paper burns, and it says in the Bible, that which is not burned in the fire, is God's money. Is gold and silver. And then yes, being in a place of more safety and populated cities, maybe not a great idea. Having means to if you have gold and silver, you can still have means to food because you can transact. But still having means to to food or storage things, temporarily being able to have access to some food. There's nothing wrong with having been prepared because you can always use what you have. Whether there's something happen or not. So there's never anything wrong with preparing, but the Bible's very clear about it. Prepare, and it's said how many times does it say in the Bible the word prepare?
Yeah. Do you see us moving, as a trend, more to a local bartering system once this collapse happens? I mean, obviously, gold and silver factor into that equation, but I've had a lot of analysts basically say that they envision that as well.
Well, I think twofold. I think that's going to be a two-level system. That's kind of what you just said. Bartering, I think, you'll be able to transact with silver and coins and gold. So that would be transactional with bartering. But I still don't think the system, as it's going to completely disappear. I think there will be controls put on it. But you're not going to take away the internet, right? And so I think things like Bitcoin is an example, right? Not that I'm a huge advocate of Bitcoin, but the point is, if you had gold and silver and you wanted to transact over a distance, right? Then you could just sell some of your silver or gold and you pick some Bitcoin up, and then you can transact over distances. So I think because you're not just going to have local, things local. There's a whole world that we have out there, So I don't see this being just a local, situation. I see, there's still being a global transactions, but I see, being very different. And I think that if you've got, gold and silver, then you can still, by doing some conversions, you can still be able to transact over distances. And so, it's going to be a very different world. But having gold and silver will transition you into that. It's for what's coming.
Yeah. Now here at TriCat Night, we've been warning of a phony Messiah to appear on the scene. Of course, this is in the apocalypse, but we're seeing kind of all the pieces of the puzzle come together and come together fast and rapidly. Kind of a great storm on the horizon, and it just whips through real quick. So, in order for this phony Messiah to come onto the scene, the structures that we have in place now have to completely fall away, whether it's social, political, and today, of course, we're talking about the economic. And that's why it's good to get guests like Bo on to give him his expertise, to give us his analysis. And I just really appreciate you coming on, Bo, and look forward to getting you on again. Why don't you send us off with some parting words here, maybe some upcoming projects that you have. You could reiterate your websites, but I just wanted to really appreciate, really thank you for coming on and show my appreciation for all the work that you're doing.
I appreciate you having me, and I thank you for that. The main thing is the word prepare. I hope your listeners have at least taken whether if you don't believe the whole story, you don't believe any of this, nothing's going to ever happen. If you took 10% of your wealth, as it's just an example, I'm not telling people to do this, but just think of it as an example, right? You take 10% of your wealth and you buy gold, for example, right? Gold's going to double, because gold's going to, in the next years to come, multiply by 10 easy. So it'll go over $10,000, maybe a heck of a lot higher. But no matter what your net worth is today, 10% of your worth was just an example in gold, and you lost 90% of everything you have, but the gold went up tenfold, you would have preserved your position that you are financially today. So it doesn't hurt to be prudent and maybe look at alternatives to where you're sitting if you're sitting all on paper right now. And beyond that, If you're interested in the stock market, I hope people have done something, in terms of precaution and listen to, not even what I'm saying, listen to other people that you've had on. There's a lot of people out there that are talking about, financial calamities. So just I hope they've listened and they're out of the markets. Because there's no reason to be in them at this point.
Yeah.
And especially after, we do a video a month ago and we basically say the top's supposed to be calculated on the 15th of August, and we nail the day again to the day, okay? Go look at the Dow, look at the S&P on August 15th, and look where it is trading at today in September, the 14th. So, as of August 15th, the U.S. markets have topped. So, and before it doesn't just top and then crash, it tops, goes sideways a little bit, and then it collapses. So if we do have, mathematically calculate a specific day that the crash is supposed to start. So if people are interested, that's in that specific day because you want to maybe put some trades on or you want to do something about it, then, we offer that. You can send me my email address is gold2020forecast@aol.com. And again, this is only for your traders, but it's gold2020forecast@AOL.com. And if people wanted to, or if they're interested in trading, again, I don't give trade advice, but you can have the date of what you can maybe act on that date. So just write the header as the date. If you want the date, then we'll send you a link and how you can get some information on that. But aside from that, I just I think it's so incredibly important to for people just to be awake and listening to what you're doing, Eric. I think you're doing an incredible job of getting all these different guests on and opinions. Because it's not just one person saying everything. It's many people saying the same thing.
Yeah.
The difference between me and other people, what I do is we do calculations like no one else does in the world, and so we can put time points on things that people don't have. But the concept is still all the same. It's just prepare.